Hey friends, HeatherAsh and Amara here, and I'm so happy to introduce you, if you haven't met her yet, my dear bestie friend, Sarah Rose Marshank. And we're sitting in her new house and we're having tea. Hello. So we wanted to invite you to be part of our morning tea and to share some really exciting news about her new book that is coming out. So I've been with Sarah on this journey of crafting her book, and the message is so important. The book's called Being Selfish, and it comes out March 21st, and so I really support everyone in going and buying it on that day so we can give the book a good birthing. And Sarah, I want to ask you, what is being selfish? Because for most of us as women, we're told, you're being selfish. It's like the worst thing ever. No, I can't be selfish. I'm supposed to be caregiving and giving my energy away and taking care of everyone else. So what does it mean to be selfish for you?
Well, if you notice, the title is actually Being Self-ish. And so it's more about finding your ish. And I guess what I mean by it is knowing ourselves. Right? So being selfish gets a bad rap for good reasons, because there's a lot of self-absorbed, which is an important part of our development as human beings. But there's something about these times where knowing ourselves, deeply knowing ourselves, and having some inquiry and some curiosity about the nature of the self, that I feel really is kind of a salve for a lot of the confusion and a lot of the fast-pacedness that's going on in the world. So it could look as you know, because we've been on this selfish journey together, sometimes it's taking a bath. Sometimes it's going and doing a meditation retreat. Sometimes it's ending a relationship. But it starts with stopping and being willing to take a look. Am I being really true to myself? Not am I being selfish in the sense of me, but to be myself so that I can then be in relationship with you. Totally different experience. That kind of selfish.
Yay.
Selfish.
And that one of the things that is the huge gift of Sarah is that she's helped me so much over the years during our friendship and our teaching together, is the place of getting quiet, going back inside, getting still, and letting the answers arise from that stillness. And in your book, you share your journey, and the journey from a really difficult situation that kind of catapulted you into something has to change, and into then becoming a sex worker, and then into becoming basically a monk for 10 years, and then coming back into the world. And it's such a beautiful weaving of, here's what it's like to really be in the world, here's what it's like to withdraw from the world, and here's what it's like to come back in again. So just share a little bit about your journey and what you share in the book.
Well, the subtitle is My Journey from Escort to Monk to Grandmother, as HeatherAsh said. And it is a journey from this question and confusion that all of us hit at some point in our lives, kind of this existential angst of, who am I? Why am I here? What is the point? And what other people are doing and thinking is important doesn't fit for me, and what does fit for me? So it's this deep question of, who am I? That's another way of saying selfish, asking the question, who am I? What is my life and my destiny and my purpose, and where do I belong and where do I fit in? And so for me, my journey was a lot of sexual exploration, relationship exploration, but then got into this really deeper, more spiritual question of, who am I? What is the self? And one of the things that might resonate with you is that we're in a time where we're trying to integrate East and West. Our world is getting smaller, and we live in a very concentrated global environment. And so there's this dynamic that's going on in the world around spirituality and psychology. And so my journey explores that. What's the relationship between finding that stillness that's more in a spiritual orientation, and then finding my unique self-expression, which is a healthy ego and psychologically healthy and alive person in the world, and how they anchor one another. So it's more of not an either or, am I religious or not, but we're all spiritual beings and we're all human beings. And how can those live together in harmony and create one, as you and I say, one kick-ass life that is genuine, authentic, and in service and connection with the world.
Yeah.
So this is my journey. It's a memoir. It's my story, but the intention is to catalyze your story and your journey. And one of the things about my relationship with HeatherAsh is the incredible amount of love and support and just juicing me on my journey. And so as I have come back in the world, this one has been a sister that's come forward to help me integrate that through her teachings and her work. And so though we're each unique, we're a great example of uniqueness, but a sense of authenticity and curiosity and willing to change and willing to continue to work on ourselves and explore what does it mean to be a self in this postmodern age that we live in. Yeah. And women, what does it mean to be a woman in these times, which is its own unique flavor.
Yes.
And women of intelligence and privilege and curiosity and educated and yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it did. And part of the potency is that so many of us think, well, if I can just go to the mountains and meditate for the next 10 years and get away from everything, then I'll be done and finished and it'll be good. And there is truth to that, as you share in your book, around the going away from the world and really letting everything go. And there's also repercussions from that. And it's half complete. That's what I really got from reading your book, is that it's not a complete, for your experience, it didn't feel complete. That there was the other half of, how do I take this stillness that I found in this connection and now go back into the world and hold it. And so that's the completion. And I think that's the question for all of us, which I feel like why being selfish is so important, is that as women, we've been told you shouldn't have a self. In some ways, like yourself should be taking care of everybody else around you. And that when you start to claim yourself, that, because I've talked to a lot of women around this, they start making boundaries, they start saying no to things, they start doing things for themselves, and sometimes the repercussions of that is big. People are like, no, you're taking care of me, you're fitting into the same role that I've always known you to be. And so it takes courage for us to come into relationship with ourselves again. And that once we do that, once we get that centered, yes, I'm back in relationship, then we have to go back into the world again. And it's not that easy, like do this and then you'll come back. The truth is we're in the world and we're trying to find ourselves again. So how'd you do it? How'd you manage it? Or what were some of the places that...
I'm still managing it. It does not end. That's good to remember. Yes. It does not end.
That is true.
But there is something about really saying no to so much out there, carving out time to be in, and finding that rhythm and that balance in your own life. That is really a challenge for most of us. So for me, it was an extreme 10 years. Really being out. And as you know, I wasn't even sure that I would come back into the world, nor that I wanted to. But something in my heart was touched from that deep place of stillness. It's like as soon as I found myself in relation to, God, whatever we want to call that, the stillness, there was a natural outpouring of my humanity wanting to come back in the world. And so it's been an integrating process. And I have a regular inward practice that is sustaining for me. And a lot of what I talk about with people and support people and empower people is to carve out time for that, but also to have a clear intent around what is it that you're carving out time for, what are you searching for, what's the terrain that you will encounter in your psyche, in your soul, in your inner world, in your life, that I was able to map from my own journey and then corroborate with other teachings and other teachers, so that it's sort of like we're updating updating our what's the word? We're updating our operating system as humans. What is spirituality today? What is psychology today? What is science today? How do they all weave into a sense of self and how we are being humans on the planet? And for me, taking time alone and being quiet to listen from the inside out, we get so much outside in. Be this, do this, you should, you shouldn't, as you were saying. Mm-hmm. And to be able to set a boundary and say, wait, I'm just going to be quiet and listen. It's very powerful.
Sarah has been such an immense guide for me, and we've been so blessed in our friendship that we've gone through rough things with each other, me more than you.
I'm the more stable one.
That's right.
I know, you're shocked.
But you were that, like, just steady. I remember at one point, Sarah said to me, "You don't think you're going to get through this, do you?" Mm-hmm. And I felt inside of myself, and I realized that was true. I honestly could not see how I was going to get through what I was working through with the amount of pain that I had at that time. And to be able to admit to somebody, I don't feel like I'm going to get through. And her response was so perfect. She's like, "That's okay, honey. I'm going to hold you because I know you're going to get through it. So you can just rest into me and we'll get through it. It'll be fine." And that was such a like, okay, I don't even have to hold that I'm going to get through it. Sarah's holding that. And I feel like because of the amount of time you took to get quiet, your level of compassion and presence with other people is so immense. And also your ability, like in the book, to convey what it's like to be in huge pain. Mm-hmm. And then what it's like to go towards a very disciplined spiritual life that was very regimented, and also the whole questing, like asking the questions and what that experience was like for you. And then the piece of your heart going, oh, there's something more. And it's like this for all of us, right? I just want to stay safe and comfortable. No, there's something pulling me. Mm-hmm. And your courage to step out of what was known and safe and into the messy, chaotic, wonderful world. And that you have created these amazing maps. So the book maps it out. And then if any of you have the opportunity, highly recommended to work with Sarah in any way. She's an incredible, incredible teacher and has created really beautiful maps. And we were really blessed when we taught together in Austin because we both, it's almost like we kind of grew up together in some way. Definitely. Of supporting each other and finding our maps and how we teach and collaborating as well. So it's been really sweet. So last question.
I wanted to say one thing about that.
Anything you want to share?
Well, just to underscore that the field of stillness, or I mean, whatever we want to call it, and it's been called historically by so many different names, but to have a disciplined practice for me, a meditation practice, a silence practice, an alone practice, just walking in nature, not having any contact with telephones, televisions, computers, just really feeling that field, if you will, of acceptance, of truth, of love, of generosity, of energy, whatever you want to call it by whatever name, is always holding us. So when HeatherAsh, when you speak about, Sarah said, oh, I got you, it wasn't me that had you, even though I was there too. It was this field that is always here for us. And in that field, everything is held, including our deaths and everything that is scary and horrific and hard for us. But to have just a cognitive understanding of that is different than having the experience of it. And so that's what the story is about. What happens to a young woman who has that experience and then brings it back into the world and becomes a grandmother, an elder, somebody who can hold that space for others, even as I'm still growing in that myself and growing in my own humanity as well. That's why I say it never ends. So So yeah, I think that's what I would underscore. And that it's accessible to everybody. It's not, that's the other thing. It's not like you have to don these robes or hold these certain mala beads or have a certain mantra or sacred language or get a certain blessing from some hoo-ha somewhere in a mountain somewhere. None of that is, that's all a story we make up. It's actually really accessible to all of us right here, right now. And this is a story that if I can do it, right? It's one of those. If I can do it, you can do it. And it's what our lives are devoted to and what we share with the world. So, and from what I'm told, it's actually kind of a good read too.
It's a really good. Did we mention that? It's a really good read. Yeah, I didn't read it for a long time because Sarah Rose wouldn't give me the manuscript. She gave it to everyone else, but not to me. And then finally, she sent me one of the final versions, and I stayed up all night reading it. It was great.
Awesome.
Yeah. So a good read with a lot of wisdom woven through it and a lot of insights that'll come. So I had 2 more questions arise.
Yeah.
One was, I feel like a lot of us struggle with around our emotional body and how to be compassionate in the world without getting overwhelmed by other people's issues and problems. And the places where I know I've struggled with this of like wanting to just completely withdraw and protect myself versus wanting to be part of humanity and be part of the whole birth, death cycle and suffering and all of the messiness of it. And so just any thoughts about that?
It's messy.
It's messy.
And no matter how we slice it, life hurts and life is pleasurable. So it's an ongoing process. And I feel that the more I rest in that field of stillness that I was talking about, the more capacity I have to feel my feelings without getting caught up in the drama around them or without getting trapped by the story around them. And that's a practice. That's the other thing is this kind of navigating life. We weren't taught that. I wasn't taught this by my parents. And a lot of our generation or a lot of the culture in the West that let go of religion, which was kind of our source for many years of how to be human. And we replaced it with science in the last, however, few hundred years. And that had its own answers, but wasn't quite as heartful maybe or as whole. And so I feel like there's a way in which I was searching for, there's so many things in science that make sense, so many things in religion make sense, and so many that don't connect. And so what I discovered was that there is a place where all the messiness can be held. And by accessing that place, then we can turn the messiness into art. And you talk about this, the Toltec tradition is the artistry of the spirit of life. How do we make our life into art? And if you haven't noticed, some of the best art has dark and light in it, right? And it's a messy process. But messy, meaning painful, is different than suffering. Suffering is like almost on a soul level. And that isn't mandatory for human life.
Yeah.
But pain is. Sorry.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah.
And learning to witness
right.
Whatever is arising. And that is also one of your huge gifts, is your capacity to witness and your capacity to show other people the balance of connecting to source, connecting to stillness, learning to witness, and then also really being in the world as well, and weaving all 3 of them together.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, that's another skill. It's another muscle we need to develop, again, that I wasn't raised with, to be able to have the capacity to stand back, get perspective on myself, and see where I could do things differently or what wants to be seen, loved, held, addressed, healed, transformed. All of the above.
Make magic. Nice.
So yeah.
Awesome. So March 21st.
March 21st. Monday, March 21st.
Monday. Go to
Spring.
Amazon.com. Yeah, spring. Amazon.com. Look up Being Selfish. Buy it. So on that day, we are asking everyone to go to Amazon and to say yes. We say yes to being selfish in this way of being self-full, and to find out what our ish is. I like that.
Yeah.
And if you buy on that day, on March 21st, if you then go to Facebook and go to the Being Selfish page, so just type in again, Being Selfish, and you can practice, I'm being selfish. Then if you just make a comment on the page, it'll show up on the side. If you just type in, I bought the book today, then Sarah Rose is going to do a raffle. Then on the 22nd, she'll go through and pick 4 people randomly to win a free 4-week book circle with her around being selfish. So again, just buy the book, go online, facebook.com, being selfish, just type in, I bought the book today, and then you'll get put into the raffle. And then if you want to keep going, you can keep going. Then between March 21st and April 21st, go onto Amazon, do a review. Reviews are so helpful for authors. And again, I really want to support everyone that it's really important for us to put energy behind authors and new things that are happening, and to especially when something's being born, you want to feed it. So to go back to the Amazon page and to write a review, and to be honest and to share what your experience was reading the book and what transformed for you. And then Sarah Rose on the 22nd of April, so that's that month period after the book comes out, then Sarah Rose will pick someone to get a free session. And having had many coaching sessions with Sarah Rose, she is the best. So I hope you win.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And beingselfish.com is the website for the book, so you can view the book trailer there, get a little more information about me and the work that I do. But I really appreciate your support in buying the book on March 21st and enjoying it, or reading it at least, whether you enjoy it or not, and letting me know. For me, it's about the conversation and rebranding what it means to be selfish in these times. So I wholeheartedly support you on your journey to become more selfish, and thank you for your support, and thank you for helping birth this book and this launch, and hope to see you again somehow, you out there.
Yes.
And I know I'll see you.
Yay.
And stay tuned for stuff that we're cooking up together.
Sedona in September, Sarah and HeatherAsh.
Retreat in Sedona.
Okay, let's cheers to that.
Okay.
Cheers to your new book. Congrats.
Thank you, Ben.
Cheers to you all. Enjoy.
Be selfish.